Welcome to the Midnight Bible Study. Glad you're with us. Have you been wounded by life? Are you hurting? Have you faced adversity? Have you fallen into struggles, painful circumstances, ongoing struggles? I feel your pain. I know. I have empathy. Believe me, I'm not just saying that. I've been there. I know what it's like. Depression. Are you possibly, maybe you've dealt with depression, pain of loss. We go through a lot. There's different things that we face. But the message for tonight is that there is hope. Take heart. There is hope. It's not all as bad as it seems. I'm going to talk about humility tonight. 1 Peter 5:6 says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." Now, some of us don't have to humble ourselves that much because maybe we're living in humility. We've been humbled. It's really not even a big effort, to humble ourselves if we've already been humbled by life. And so, but nevertheless, the message is still important because how do we respond to adversity? Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Well, there's hope in that. There's hope in that scripture. There's hope that he may lift you up in due time. And what is it to humble ourselves? Does it, we want to humble ourselves before God through obedience, that he may lift us up in due time. And there's a lot to the word humility. We're gonna just take a slice of the pie tonight, but not the whole cake, not the whole pie. So, but there is hope. 1 Corinthians 1:28 says, God, this is where some of the hope is. God chose the lowly things of this world, the despised things, and the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast for him. So if we feel like, crushed by life, or rejected, or depressed, or beaten, or something humiliated, remember, God chose the lowly things of this world to nullify the things that are, so that no one can boast for him. God chose us. God chose the lowly things. So, remember, look at the Bible. If you look at the characters that God chooses in the Bible, you look at Saint Peter, who is none other than the first pope. What kind of character was him? He showed himself to be bold, but also a coward. He denied Christ 3 times before the cock crowed 3 times. And there's other ones too. There's lots of characters in the Bible that are flawed. These are flawed characters that are really the heroes of the faith. You look at Moses. Moses wanted to deny his calling to lead the. This is one of the greatest movements, immigrations in history. He was one of the most greatest rescue operations in history. Moses was called to lead the Jews out of bondage in Egypt into the desert and to the promised land. This is an incredible honor. It's like God saying, "Look, I want you to be the 5-star general," and Moses saying, "Not me, Lord. I'm unworthy. I can't even talk well. I'm not worthy of this job." And, I can't put two sentences together. And not only that, Moses, he was a former murderer. He had fled to the desert for his life. So he was a flawed character. But God didn't let him off the hook. God says, no, I'm going to help you through this. I'm going to be with you. And so this character who lacked all self-confidence, God chose him to be the 5-star general. Why? Because God chooses the lowly things of this world and the despised things. And Moses was despised. He had fled into the desert from the Pharaoh 40 years earlier to nullify the things that are, so that no one can boast for him. God doesn't want the proud. God is not looking for the proud who are going to boast in their own greatness. He's looking to choose those things, the lowly things of this world, that he can lift them up and that we can glorify God. Take another one. St. Paul was... he was the least. He called himself the lowest in the kingdom of heaven. He was a former persecutor of Christians, and he humbled himself, and he stuck to his ministry through beatings, scourgings, shipwrecks, starvations, chains, and through all of these humiliations, he continued to fight on as a warrior in obedience to Christ, humble before God, humble before his commander, the real commander of God, whom he served in his mission. So, another example, St. Michael Gederoy. St. Michael Gederoy of the 15th century, he died in 1485. He was a crippled dwarf hermit. He was permitted not to join the monastery, but to live in a cell adjoining the monastery. Now I don't know. Maybe he was part of the monastery, but he was permitted to live as a hermit in a cell adjoining the monastery. So he was permitted to be associated with the monastery as a hermit. So maybe they didn't have to look at this dwarf hermit very often, but that's okay, because as we learned in 1 Peter 5:6, humble yourselves under God's mighty hand. God chooses the lowly things. Okay, so Saint Michael Gederoy, this crippled dwarf hermit, was permitted to live as a hermit near the monastery. He was subjected to diabolical attacks, okay? So you've got this dwarf crippled hermit, under attack of the demonic, all right? He's attacked. So that could be a good sign. That may mean that he was seen as a threat. But he was also given the gifts of prophecy and the power to work miracles, because he lived a ascetic, humble life as a hermit, and so he was a miracle worker. God chooses the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast for him. So take heart. There's hope. Remember, God disciplines his sons. He disciplines his children. And so, though it may hurt in the short term to be disciplined, it does not even compare to the glory that is to come. So, thanks for joining me tonight at the Midnight Bible Study, and God bless.